Welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk, right here on the Rock Rage Radio Network. And here we go. We got yet another Curtain Call Records artist. We have the one, the only Miss Jasmine Cain, somewhere between, I think you said Nashville and Maryland.
There's a lot of space between Nashville and Maryland. We're just getting started. We're trying to cut much of it as we can today.
Well, there you go. The transportation looks fairly comfortable, so that's pretty good. So why don't you tell my viewers, we're having a little chat there before we started, what you've been up to the last couple of days.
Well, I mean, I actually haven't been home in about 2 months. We left in July to start, this run of the tours. And we don't really have a name for the tour because it's just 2024. We always are touring. We're always on the road. So we headed out towards Sturgis. Of course, we did like 12 straight days of Sturgis this year. And then we went back out, did Four Corners Rally out in Durango, Colorado, all the way over to Fort Collins, and did a couple of fairs and festivals for Harvest Fests and whatnot. And now we're headed up to Ocean City to do their Ocean City Bike Fest. And that's kind of, we don't have a whole lot of events left for this year. It kind of all wraps up by the end of October. So if you're looking to get out and check us out for a full band, then you've got to see it before the end of October. Everything shuts down then, and we go directly to acoustic tours only. So,
well, talk about that, because that's interesting. Up here in Canada, especially where I live, a lot of that takes place. So just talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Well, acoustic shows for us kind of started during COVID because we weren't allowed to get together and perform anymore. And so I kind of went back. I had a lot of extra time. So we learned how to broadcast. We did a Twitch channel. My husband is in the band as well. So he's front of house sound and stuff. And so he learned how to broadcast. I learned about 4 or 5 different instruments and about 3,000 songs just to get started on the acoustic stuff again. And it was kind of fun to go back and relearn how to play piano, how to play guitar, ukulele, mandolin, stuff like that. And just get proficient on that again, because I hadn't done that since I was basically a child. And with ukulele and mandolin, I hadn't done it all. So it was kind of fun to learn some new stuff, kind of kept it fresh for me. And we did that broadcasting from the basement for the rest of the year. And then towards the end of the year and Christmas time or so, Florida opened up and was allowing bands to play again. Well, acoustic solos and duos to play again. And since the band is a trio, we still couldn't do that. And our guitar player at the time had decided to vamp during COVID because he just wasn't interested in doing this anymore. So I went on to Florida myself. I think that first year we stayed down there for 2 months, and I did 9 shows. And then word kind of got out. And the next time I went down there over Christmas, well, right after Christmas, the first of the year, and spent January and February down there, I had 22 shows in 2 months. And this last time I had 35 shows in 50 days. So it's actually really kind of catching on fire, and it's becoming something bigger than I expected it to be. And I'm happy about it because it's just more fun for me to try something different. I get to rock with the band, during the summer. And then I get to kind of chill out and do some acoustic stuff in the winter and really experiment with things that I wouldn't normally get to do. So I'm having a ball with it. We've even since then started to incorporate our 12 days of acoustic Christmas tour, which takes us all the way up to New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Northern Ohio, Connecticut, and then all the way up to Boston. So it's kind of fun. We do that little loop before the weather gets really bad, right before the end of the year.
Something that you're bringing up, and it's really interesting because when COVID happened, I know so many musicians who kind of felt bad for themselves and was, you know what, it sucks, and they didn't do anything. And then there was a small pocket of the go-getters that were like, I'm going to learn technology, I'm going to learn new ways to do things. And when everything opened up, those were the ones that now people are going, oh my God, you're so lucky. All these things are happening. So it sounds to me like you kind of identified that and ran with it.
Yeah, it's not luck. It was just taking advantage of a situation that, I don't have time to learn this stuff most of the time. And that's what's hindering me, I think. Most of the time is just not having enough time in your day, because we're a DIY band. We wear a lot of hats, so we don't have management and booking agents and all that stuff. I'm pretty much all of that. And then my husband is the graphic designer. He's driving the bus right now. He'll do our sound when we get there. And we do all the marketing together. So it's kind of like it's full-time job for us at all times. And so to be able to have this free time to just learn something was like, that's such a gift. And a lot of my friends, like some of them really got into working out. Some of them got into cooking. I just got into learning all these instruments. I wish I would have gotten more into working out. That would have been cool.
No. No. But it sounds like it's paying off because, I mean, you're a great example of really somebody that is earning a living totally by music, which most musicians want to do, and for whatever reason, either there's an excuse or a self-sabotage reason why they can't do it. So, I mean, you could really, I'm not going to say you want to tell people how to do it because maybe you want to keep some of that intel to yourself, but I mean, you could really, get that out there.
I can't play the same places all the time. Like, we have to keep moving. It's just a constant, like, I feel like, certain bands have certain markets kind of on lock. And if you could share, like if there's a band that's really got a market on lock that could share some of their dates and stuff like that with, or contacts and stuff with other bands that have another market, maybe they're interested in getting into on lock. There's no way that the same band can play the same bar every single night of the week. Like there's room for everybody. But a lot of the bands that I get approached by that want help getting into something they aren't really offering anything in return. It's just like, hey, we want all your gigs and thanks. And it's like, well, what have you guys built? What can we work on together?
So I'm here with Jasmine Cain on the Rock Rage Radio Network, and it's like we rehearsed this chat ahead of time because one of the things I always like to talk about is networking. Mm-hmm. I want to talk to you about that. I want to give you a real funny example. I talked to one of your fellow label mates yesterday who's very good friends with a guy by the name of Todd Chason, who's the bass player in a band called Tough. And I happen to know Todd's brother, Greg, and I interviewed Greg and his brother, Kenny, and Todd. And so this guy I'm talking to yesterday, I'm kind of in the same network as him, and I didn't even know it. How has networking played, I guess, a role for helping you and yours along?
Oh, yeah?
True story. So how's it helped you?
I mean, I'm trying to place it. I can't, because I'm trying to place these guys that you're talking about. And I'm having a hard time hearing you. So it's my fault that I can't, it's so loud in here. So the band is which band?
So the band I talked to yesterday was the Hooligan Gentleman, Scott from the Hooligan Gentleman. Okay. He's very good friends with Stevie Rochelle from Top.
Okay.
Band Top. So Stevie's bass player is this is going to be the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. His bass player.
I'm trying to put it together. I was like, there's a lot of names going on here, so I'm like, okay, let me put this together.
So Todd Chason's brother is Greg Chason that used to play in Badlands with Jake E. Lee.
Okay.
So the bottom line was, I'm meeting this guy for the first time, and I'm in the same network as him. And so my question was, how has networking helped you and what you've been doing, if that makes any sense?
Okay, well, so like you meet so many people, and they all do multiple things. Like, a lot of them do. A lot of them are in multiple bands or do multiple situations. So you never really know who you're talking to or what they actually are capable of doing. So, we try to get out there. The whole band is actually really great at getting out there and talking to people, networking, and then we all get on the bus at the end of the night and go, yo, I met so and so from whatever, and I got his number, and they do this every year. And it just you kind of build this database up. And I'm kind of like the worst about, some people are really organized, like they have Excel sheets and they're like, okay, we know this guy from this and that, whatever, and you can go back and research. Like everything I do is in my brain, and it's like the way that I work is just like, okay, like where am I? And I look at the place that I'm at, and then I'm like, who do I know from this area? And it's all in my brain. It's like all categorized in my brain. It's like, oh, this is where so-and-so is from and whatever. And then we try to get in, like, certain clubs, and I'm like, oh, this girl that we met at so and so used to work at that club. Maybe she knows someone, and we just call them. Like, it's, I can't explain how we do it, but it's because we don't write it down. But it's just kind of more of like a band chatter. Like, we all get together and just kind of talk about the day and like what's coming up, and then it'll trigger something in one of our brains and go like, oh, this happens here. We need to get on that, or we need to get on that. So, like, for instance, we're going to Ocean City right now. We've done Ocean City quite a few times. We met quite a few bands here. But like, there's businesses here too that we like to work with that promote the event. And those businesses are always open to like meet and greets and things like that. And it's like, because they want to be part of the event too, right? So they're just sponsors, which means their name gets on a board somewhere or on an advertisement, or they say it on the radio, but nothing is really bringing people to their business.
Right.
So they, you know, we hit up a lot of those businesses that we find out are sponsors of the event. And we talk to them about, you know, doing meet and greets or in-store signings or things like that, because they want a reason for people to come there. And if one of the bands that's performing all week says, hey, we want to do a meet and greet or a signing here, or give people a reason to come here, they're like awesome about opening their doors to that. And they usually like come up with some pretty cool ideas for promotion on that. There's all kinds of ways to look at this. You just have to really think outside the box, at the norm of what you're doing. Like, most everybody just goes, oh, we got to get on the radio because that's going to, you know, be what really promotes this. And that's right. It will promote it. But not everybody's listening to the radio when you do your one interview that when you're there, you know, you've got to find multiple ways to get in people's face. So it needs to be in print. It needs to be on radio. It needs to be in-store signings. It needs to be meeting the people backstage with the other bands, all the tour people. My husband has befriended, I think, every front of house engineer in history. And so he talks about every band that they're working with and where they're going, and if they're looking for opening acts to tour with them and things like that. So you have to just get out there and meet everybody, think outside the box, come up with really unique marketing ideas that work for you and the event and the business that's promoting. It's kind of a win-win-win for everybody.
So what you said there is interesting, because, you know, you would maybe impart that to another band and they'd sit there and give you 10 reasons why they're smarter than you and why it won't work and why, you know, and I go through that and I just find, hey, you know what, man, go yourself. No big deal.
Yeah.
But what the thing that you said there that got me the most was approaching sponsors, because in the music business, there's this kind of connotation that it's one-sided. Like, musicians want all the money and they want all the accolades, but they don't want to give back. What you said there, I think, is quite ingenious, and there's a good message in there.
Yeah, it's, you know, it needs to be reciprocal. I don't even want to search out sponsors of things that I don't use or haven't used or don't know much about, because I would be a poor representative of that. You know, I want to make sure that I'm representing their company to the best of my ability. So we look at the things that we use and that we incorporate in our everyday lives, and then go, hey, you know, it'd be really great. We have to buy so much Fiji water every tour that we do because we stock our bus. Wouldn't it be cool to approach Fiji and just say, you know, this is all the water, this is the only water we drink? Would it be, you know, what about energy drinks? Monster already has kind of the lock on music, but that doesn't mean that other energy drinks don't want to compete in the music world. You know, Rockstar was the shit before Monster, and they battle back and forth. So it's like, now you've got 1,000 more. You've got Bang, you've got Celsius, you got all the things. Look at a energy drink sponsor. Look at, you know, a battery company, you know, not your Duracells and Energizers, but anybody else that's on the market, because we're all putting those damn things in our wirelesses every single night. And you always need them, you know? Dude, I wish I could find a fishnet sponsor. That'd be great. Hey, yo.
I'm sure they're out there. I mean, I can't help you, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Oh, look at these things. Look, these things this is rough, man.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of mileage out of that stuff, no question.
Now you can say that you saw Jasmine Cain's underwear drawer on the road.
Oh my, then your husband would beat me up. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking to make friends here today, Jazz.
No, he would high five you. It's fine.
So I've struck up this relationship with Kurt and Kyle. I've been dealing with Brian and John and Gigi and the like. And I'd be interested to get your take on your relationship with them, because my, I guess, outside looking in impression, having just started working with them a little bit, is that they do an awful lot for their artists to help their artists get shows and get on shows and with promotion. So maybe just impart a little bit of that.
So I know John the best. I met John before he was Rock Rage Radio. He lived in Jackson, Tennessee, and I knew him from way back before then. But he had this brilliant idea to get people to just do these radio shows, and then they would all be reporting, and then whatever artists were being, that they started Curtain Call when he met Gigi. Then he had extra help, and Gigi kind of like spearheaded this Curtain Call Records, so you could bring on these up and coming bands and give them an outlet for their music, interviews and whatnot, and then also get them charting, because it's impossible for bands to chart. It's still a pay to play. Like no matter what you do, they aren't supposed to say that, but it's always been a pay to play situation when you're dealing with radio. It's like, oh, I've got a favor I need, and I'll do this favor for you if you do this favor for me. And then suddenly your artist is charting and they're doing great. And everybody knows that the only way to get better gigs and to better offers and better pay is to get music on radio. And we all know that. And it's really hard for us to like push past that barrier, because unless you're signed to a label, which is kind of a thing of the past at this point, a lot of bands are just releasing music on their own, a lot of independent bands, and not really willing to give up their publishing, their merchandising, their tour money and all that just to say I'm through whatever label. They want to maintain that. And then the label started coming up with the 360 deals, which sucked for the artists. Again, you're just getting taken advantage of. And artists were like, how can we break this barrier without, breaking the bank? Because unless you have like a financial backer, somebody that's willing to dump a ton of money into you to get you on a label, to get you, radio support and all of that, then like there's nowhere for us to go. There's no way for anyone is going to ever hear this music. Social media did help a lot, because you could become an overnight TikTok phenomenon and maybe do something that way. But the chances of that are, slim. And because you got to fight everybody else for that spotlight. And not just musicians, but every kind of content creator. So it's a lot of work. And John saw an opportunity for this, and he was like, you know what? I could be that guy. I could be the guy that gives them like at least a record label name, so people take them more serious. Because when they just say, oh, we're independent artists, well, nobody cares. Like, oh, we're signed through Curtain Call Records. Oh, really? Okay, let's talk. So it's different. It's like there's really no difference. You're still DIY, but you have a record name attached to you. And for years before we had John and Rock Rage Radio and Gigi for Curtain Call, we made up names, because we did this for years. I'm sure like you can attest to this. A lot of bands would come up with like names. Like I had a cat named Mr. Brownstone. And so my booking agency name was, Brownstone, LLC or something like that. When I first started, and I started booking myself using my cat's name as a business, because people wouldn't listen to you if they wouldn't talk to the artists. I don't know. I don't understand why. Maybe it's just because like some artists just don't have that business sense, or maybe some artists don't have they can't, they're emotionally, involved, so that you can't talk to them as a business person. They get too emotional, and it becomes a problem, because the first time that somebody says something that offends them or doesn't sit right with them, they just react instead of being professional about it. That can be, but I always thought it was ridiculous that artists couldn't just represent themselves. And but I'm kind of able to do both of those. Now I'm in the middle of this interview and I have to do some banking. So if you,
well, see, this is good for people to see. This is very good for people to see, right? Because hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you want to be in the music business. It's not all fun and games. It's not all that hour and a half on stage, right? And while you're doing that, something that you mentioned that is interesting. You're talking about fighting for social media. and I see this all the time where you'll do something you think it's very cool and it might get 2,500 views, and then some guy's feeding raccoons on his deck and it goes viral, and you can't figure out what the hell is happening. But it comes down to people's attention span, and that's unfortunately what you fight and deal with every day.
And the funny thing is that we try to do a little bit of that too, because there's no reason why we can't all do that. Like, I mean, I like feeding raccoons too.
Give it a try. Maybe it works. I don't know.
Well, I mean, our guitar player's dad and his stepmom actually do have a raccoon rescue. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding. I'm not kidding. It's actually pretty funny.
That could be a thing. That could be your next viral sensation. So look, I know you're busy. I know you got to do some banking and then get going. So where can my viewers and listeners find out more about what you and you're up to and where you're going to be for the next little while?
The best place to find me always is jasminecain.com. Like, that's our main website. And we're on the road constantly. Our Facebook page does really, really well. So I mean, you can connect with us there. We're also doing this really cool. Sorry, I'm still doing this. We're doing this cool like street team thing right now, which has been awesome. It's like helping people join our community. There's a Facebook page called Caniac Community that is tied into our other Facebook page, our official one. And then we also have the actual like sign up for the street team newsletter. What's the coolest about that is that we're giving away guitars every month. We give away a guitar. Yeah. And it's for something very simple, like, take a picture of yourself holding your Jasmine Cain album and attach it to this post. And they do. And, you're automatically entered to win this guitar. And then we draw at the end of the month. We've given away 4 guitars so far this year. And we still have 4 more to go. So there's still chances to win more. And so, yeah, it's fun. Plus, I'm building up my newsletter by doing that. That way, anytime we have something come out, like Rock Rage Radio has just added you to 40 radio stations. Cool. What's up, people? Here's my newsletter list. And, it's all in there. It's fine.
Fantastic. Look, I want to thank you for doing this. I know it's very chaotic there.
Very chaotic.
But, no. And I'd like to stay in touch with you guys and see how you're doing throughout the rest of the summer and whatnot. And thanks a lot for your time there, young lady. We've been with Jasmine Cain here at the Rock Rage Radio Network. What's that?
I'm so sorry for all the interruptions. Actually, everything was in order. It's just not taking his card.
It's all good. It's all good. We'll be back.
I would love to do this again with you sometime where I'm actually somewhere stationary, because this gives you an idea of just how ridiculously chaotic it is for this when we're on the road. But
and when I'm actually in my studio, I got all my Kiss dolls and stuff behind me and all kinds of fun stuff like that too. So yeah, we'll do another one. But I want to thank you for this one. It was great.
Thank you so much. And again, sorry about the craziness. Here's everybody.
Say hi, everybody.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, man, you guys are in Canada right now. How do you feel about that?
We're in Canada right now. He's filming from Canada.
Oh, right on. Sweet.
So you're the money in your wallet suddenly went up double, man. There you go. Welcome to Canada.
Thanks, guys. Man, I appreciate you so much.